Hello everyone, this is Bentley, and today we're going to play a little bit more with some air pumps. Specifically, these two. I know, right? Cheesy. So, making sure I don't have this upside down. I have the Whisper 40 and the new Aquarium co-op pump. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tear this guy apart. Not completely, this won't be a full tear down. I'm not going to tear it down to every single component. We're just going to open it up and look at the main components inside and compare that to our Whisper. Before we do this, don't do this to your air pump. If you pull it apart like I am about to, even with very minimal pulling apart, you will void the warranty on your air pump. So do not do what I'm about to do. Okay? Now, I've had lots of tips from people that involve pulling these things apart. I don't advise that. But what we're going to find out is just how simple a basic air pump is and what the differences are for something like the co-op, which has a couple different modes and a battery backup. Let's change camera, start peeling this thing apart, and look at just what's inside. Okay, we're going to try this. So I've already removed screws, you can kind of see them here, from both of these air pumps. So let's first start with the Whisper, just because this is a more standard air pump. Pretty easy, top casing. So you've got your power source and how it directs its power, and then you've got the diaphragm that actually does the pump work through here, right? Now, these are super simple mechanisms. No real need to fully tear this down, okay? If you're expecting a full tear down on this one, don't worry too much, but you'll actually see that this here is a little arm, right? That's going to move in and out. That creates your diaphragm movement, which pushes air. If we were to put power to this thing, you would see it move. And let's do that. Remember, don't do this at home. So you can see when it's operating, right? Really fast vibrations, moves that diaphragm, creates air. Very, very simple mechanism. Really all this is a small rotating magnet motor. There's a magnet here that moves back and forth, causes the magnet to move, which moves this arm that actuates the diaphragm. And then all that does is push this through a little mechanism here that eventually ends out in that pipe. Really simple. This would just be, if we open this all the way up, I don't even think I've got a screwdriver small enough to do so, but you would find just a small, simple mechanism in here. Okay? Nothing crazy. This is literally just think like your exhaust pipe. This is just open piping that helps flow it out. Very simple. Now, let's look at the co-op pump. So we got a battery backup in this thing, right? So right away, you're going to see some differences, right? We've got a little PCB board here that's controlling everything. You got your battery, but you'll notice very similar arm, magnet, diaphragm for movement. Now, because we've seen how that operates, I'm not going to power this thing on. But what we will do is further disassemble this thing. Let me actually look at these real fast. All I'm doing is removing the leads from the board. So you can see it goes from USB power to this board. That board hooks up to this controller, which gives us an indication of battery power remaining. That's this lead here. And you can see this is a standard, 18650 battery. So similar for those of you who maybe use a vapor rig, or maybe you've got big batteries like this and say a camera gimbal, drones, this is a very, very common battery. There's actually in a lot of your Teslas and stuff, right? There's just tons of these batteries are what make up the battery packs. Slightly nicer versions probably. And then you have, again, we break down to the simple part. Mechanism to pump air. But you'll notice, not as crazy a chamber over here. Real simple, just an out pipe, diaphragm, same arm, a little bit smaller arm in comparison. But if we looked at the stats, you're getting 1.3 liters per minute out of the Whisper and 1.5 out of the Co-op, according to their advertised stats. Now, visually, when we watched them in the previous video, it looked like the Whisper is pushing a little bit more air. I don't have the tools necessary to actually look at that, but let's talk about this. So, really simple. Again, you have your power leads here to this board. That board is going to control the intermittent timer, the full time on, and then, of course, giving us the information for our LED readout here and the battery power remaining, the power save LEDs, and all the control rather than just appear on off. So this allows us to turn it off to make it do the intermittent, which is run for a minute, off for a minute, run for a minute, off for a minute, and then tell you your battery remaining. Now, these kind of batteries, right, sorry, I'm doing this a little to the side. So these 18650 batteries, I think I've got that right. I don't want to look it up real fast, but I'm pretty sure that's the right model. And you can see that you've got the wires built into it. So, don't disassemble these, but there's a little pad in there to help cushion. Those things have pretty good life. And for how little power this is drawing, that's how you can get that. I think Corey advertises 6 hours, but I've heard if you put it on the intermittent, you can get more. This particular one, by the way, big thanks to a member of the channel, Elquin Jenna. She donated this one. Hers in particular, there's some small error in it where either the PCB board wasn't lighting the last LED or it wasn't fully charging the battery all the way. Co-op gave her a refund. And she was like, "Hey, Bentley, I know you want to tear one of these apart. Do you just want to tear apart mine?" And I was like, "You don't have to. I'll get my own." She's like, "Nah, go ahead. I already got a refund. Have fun." And shipped it to me. So very, very much thank you, my friend. Also a member of my club. So that's it. Really simple. Now, I could tear this apart more, but air pumps are such simple devices nowadays. We even saw this one run, right? It's literally just an arm with a magnet. This is a little electromagnetic motor. Very, very simple. It's just alternating the power, attracting and pushing, attracting and pushing, attracting and pushing. Really fast. That actuates our rubber diaphragms. And that's how we get air with the diaphragm expanding and pushing and expanding and pushing. It's just like the diaphragm that's in our body, in our lungs, right? When you breathe in, your diaphragm's pulling down toward your stomach. You breathe out, it's pushing up, exhaling your air. Same thing here. Arm moves out. It's going to create some air, pushes in, and, there's air gaps in here. If you actually look, you see right there, see that gap? So whenever this expands, right, it's sucking air in. But when we press inward, there's going to be a cap in here that's holding some of that air in. I'm sorry, I don't have a small enough crescent wrench to undo the screw. Otherwise, we would pull this apart and just show you that. But really, really simple mechanism. That's really all the difference. So what you're getting for your difference in price, retail, of course, sometimes you can find these Whispers on sale and you get a great price. I was very lucky when I bought mine. My lens covers here. Don't mind that. Professional YouTuber, I am not. You're getting the control and your battery backup. And I would argue for $10 in price, the battery backup, especially if you deal with intermittent power issues, is worth it. So let's go back to my face real fast and talk about this and a couple of things coming up, maybe some of the extra testing I'm going to do and how we're going to proceed from here. Pretty simple, right? The internals on these things are not that complex, but what you get as far as peace of mind, compact, this is much smaller, probably worth the $10 in price if you need it. Now, for a lot of people who are running multiple fish tanks, maybe they're running an air pump that has multiple taps to it. They don't want to run lots of singular pumps. Totally understand that. But if you're in a case where you get frequent power outages, even if they're very short, you have kind of spotty power or something like that, the time frame you get out of this little guy is probably worth that $10 time and time again. And you've got enough air out of this guy to easily run a 40-gallon breeder. You might not be able to split this air all that well and still get super high flow, but I think you'd still get enough, especially if you're operating, say, like a sponge. And if you have something in conjunction with it, like say you've got one sponge on this pump and then another filter in top, you're perfect, right? You're great. This is there to provide air and, hey, a little extra filtration, or maybe you just want to run all air. This is enough to run a good-sized sponge well. So let's talk about some small differences. Tetra advertises the Whisper as 1.3 liters per minute, but we could tell by like the size of the diaphragm and the mechanism operating it that it's quite a bit bigger than what's inside the Co-op. So I have to imagine that's a very conservative guess, and that the modern Whisper is probably actually pushing more like 1.7, 1.8, possibly even as high as 2 liters per minute. Now you can barely see that difference like we saw in last week's video, which, by the way, if you haven't watched that, take a look. Gives you comparison of the noise between these two, how much air is coming out of them, just as a visual thing inside the retirement tank behind me. Give it a look. It's a short video, but it gives you a little bit of good information. But this is a lot quieter. And I know people are asking about a decibel meter. I don't have a decibel meter right now. And I will, however, we'll do a full review of this when I have had more time to accurately test this particular air pump and see what I like. And we'll do a decibel meter comparison at that time. So if you're looking for decibel information, just wait for the full review. We'll do that comparison there. What I wanted to do is show you guys just a couple basics about what you're getting, what the internals are. Again, do not pull your air pump apart. You will void your warranty. And in the case of the Co-op, they give you a pretty good warranty, considering that it's an air pump. A lot of companies give you 6 months, 3 months. I think like API is only like 3 months or something. Some give you a year, but Co-op gives a pretty nice warranty on these things, and their customer service is amazing. So there's that. Don't void your warranty. That's all I'm trying to say. Don't do what I did and instantly void your warranty. Thankfully, one was donated. Again, thank you very much, Jenna. You know who you are. You're the best. I really appreciate you sending me your extra one so that I could peel it apart and not have to peel apart one of the ones that I bought for my own money. So this is sponsored by Jenna. Hey. And, yeah. Tank went out. Spooky. It's that time. That's how you know I'm filming at night. Tank went out mid-video. All right. Let me put this down. Let's talk about what's coming up next. We're going to put this thing through its paces. It'll probably be a couple months of work. I just want to give it some time. I'm going to play with a few things. I want to see what it's like if I leave this thing on intermittent for like a month at a time. What happens just does as it gets some use, has air moving through it, which will give it some dust. Do we see a degradation in the amount of airflow that's coming out of this pump? All those kind of things. I'll probably spend 2 to 3 months operating this pump in a couple different ways just to see how it holds up compared to a Whisper. I'll literally put both of them on the same tank in roughly the same location. So it's probably going to be pretty noisy wherever that is, right? Hey, nightlight. My old beams work. Still hanging in there. But we'll put it through its paces. I'll do some decibel testing when I get that set up. So we'll have all the information we need. For those of you who commented in the previous video, thank you very much. I think it's interesting just to see when we pull this guy apart, it's still pretty simple. And despite it being super compact, it pushes quite a lot of air, right? Per Aquarium Co-op, they say this moves 1.5 liters per minute of air. That's a pretty good amount if you consider that the nano USB pump, which is pretty good for how small it is, pushes 0.6. So you're getting a little over double. You're getting basically 2.5 times as much air out of this little guy, which is still fairly compact. I mean, if you look at that compared to my hand, right? It's basically my palm. Try to get so the light works. It's basically the palm. I still got my fingers out here. Woo, wiggly, wiggly. Spirit fingers. I'm an idiot, I know. But not bad for a little pump, considering it also has a battery backup and modes. I think if you left this thing on intermittent, so that whenever you lost power, if you didn't need this as your pure filtration source, let me be clear. If you need this as your primary air drive for a sponge filter, put it on full. But you can turn it off manually, you can put it on intermittent, and you can have it going full bore the whole time. For the extra $10, basically, compared to retail, I know sometimes a lot of these air pumps go on sale, you can get them a lot cheaper. I understand, we're just talking pure retail right now. For the extra $10, if you need that battery backup, I think it's absolutely worth it, because other solutions, a little bit more expensive to put into place. I'm sure somebody's going to in the comments tell me a cheaper one. Please, by all means, do, and we'll include that in the full review, okay? So, if you like this video, short, sweet, give me a little thumbs up. I'm sure a lot of people are like, you talk too much. If you think that's the case, hit that thumbs down twice. Thank you. Of course, I want to hear your comments down below. What do you think about just kind of taking a little dig in, looking at this bad boy's internals, just getting an understanding of what we're actually dealing with? Does that interest you? Or are you just like, why are you even doing this, Bentley? You barely pulled anything apart. Okay, let me know that too. I want to hear everything you have to say. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. And stay awesome. Oh, and maybe subscribe. Why not? So, just do it. Subscribe. Ring the bell. Ring the bell.